Mm. Yeah. Um,
Morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Are we the first one? I thought it started at 7:45.
8 o'clock, I believe.
Oh, is it 8? Oh, okay, sorry. Are you guys hosting?
We're not hosting. We're presenting. I think we're second.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
we're,
I see.
we're
Okay.
second on the agenda, so we're very new to this. So we're kind of.
Oh, I see. No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, that's why I thought you might be. That's why I was just wondering if you're here early or
We're
am
here.
I at the wrong time?
Yeah, we're here early.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just on the school run, so I'm gonna what I'll do is I've still got 10 minutes, so I'll log off and then log back on at 8.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
Super. Thank you.
Cheers. Salam.
Good morning.
Morning, Doug. How are you, mate?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, all good.
Morning, Doug.
Super duper duper. You said be early or on time, rather.
Perfect.
Are you all set, Chris?
Yes, mate. Yeah. Are you okay? Ready to go?
Yeah, I was born ready.
Perfect. I know you've done it before. That's why it'll be a good fit.
Martin's looking anxious.
Martin's a pro.
Oh, what was that, Chris?
You're a pro, mate. You're not looking anxious.
This is the Chris, Michael, Craig, Toby show today. This is.
Okay, we've got somebody. Oh, yeah. Okay, so there's a few people not sharing their camera yet. Sort of feel the need to fill the silence.
Morning, Manuel. Morning, Michael.
Okay, gentlemen, we'll give it 5 minutes and then we'll crack off, okay?
Morning, everyone. How are you, Sarah?
Hello, my friend. How are you?
You good?
Yeah, I'm amazing. How are you, Gary?
You're always amazing, Sarah.
How are you, buddy?
I'm all right. Very good.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Toby, I'm seeing you in a few weeks.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, because you're
Oh,
going
you're in
to
Chicago.
yeah, same time as
Yeah.
you.
Excellent. Are you on the same team?
Yeah. Pardon?
Are you on the same team?
Yep, the 27th,
Right, yeah.
28th or something.
Yep.
See you
When do
there.
you get in?
The Sunday night,
Yeah.
because the flights don't get in, they get in too late. So I've got 2 nights there. And then I'm going to New York.
What time on Sunday night?
Like about 9 o'clock or something. I'll send you a message.
Okay. Yeah. So we're going to watch a hockey game if you're in time.
Oh, I'll definitely send you a message.
Okay, good morning, one and all. Welcome to MDRT UK's monthly Zoom meeting. And Sarah, you've already had the day we're going to have. What sort of day's it been?
It's amazing. The sun's, you're just going to have a great day. It's all about your attitude, isn't it, Mike?
It is all about attitude. Yeah. For those who don't know, Sarah's on the other side of the world. She's in New Zealand and already had our day. And she reliably tells us every time it's going to be a great one. So let's hope it is. So yeah, welcome one and all. We've got a packed program coming up for you. We've got 3 great speakers. Because they've all got such a great song to sing, I don't want to get in the way of that with any big preamble. So what I'd like to do, if possible, and if he has been able to connect, our first speaker is Luke Ambler, dialing in from Nice, France. He's currently at the Ironman World Championships. Luke is a former professional rugby player, dad, entrepreneur, and award-winning mental health campaigner. So for any of you, if you've heard of Andy's Man Club and the selfie that he took that went viral with over 100 million views, this is a guy who has a great story and a great message. Hello, Luke. Are you there?
Good morning. How are you doing?
Hey, there he is. Luke, I feel like I've known you for a long time. I've watched loads of stuff on your YouTubes. You are an incredible person, incredible message. What would you like to share with us today, sir?
What would you like me to share?
Well, for me, what really struck me was how you found yourself at the lowest point in your life, and you kept saying, "Why me? Why me?" And then you had that aha moment. Then you thought, "Well, it is me, and I'm going to do something about it." And you've obviously gone way beyond that. So, if you could, Luke, can you just give us a little bit about your story and the reason that you keep getting up out of bed and you make a difference, not just for you and your family, which is really important, but for the world. Over to you, sir.
Really appreciate that, and for you to do your own work and know some of that stuff. So I'll start back at the beginning, but I'll also, just before I do that, start at the end. So apologies for jumping on here like this. I'm in an hotel room in the middle of south of France in Nice. I'm just about to take on the Ironman World Champs in 3 days here. I'll tell you a little bit about that story in a second, but this won't be how I'd normally do it. I'm literally still in my pajamas, just jumped on. So we're straight into it, Michael. But a little bit about me. My name's Luke Ambler. I used to be a former professional rugby player. Rugby players are obviously seen as being big, strong, tough guys. I played a masculine position in that as well. I was a prop forward, so my job was to run into people as hard as I could, pretend I were okay when they got hurt, and then when they ran into me, try to break them in half, and they'd be playing that same game. But I guess it hadn't always been like that for me. So just to give you a bit of a set of scene here is I'm not going to sit on here for the next 20 minutes and blow smoke up my own ass and tell you how good I've done in life. And I'm also not going to sit here and tell you what I'd cost as a sub story, because everyone on this call, whether they want to admit it or not, and hopefully you might, if we can get the chat feature going, will have been through some shit in your life. So if you're happy to comment that, and I don't know if we're allowed to swear, but we're already deep into that now. But I just think it's really important that we're able to admit that. So if everyone's just happy to just drop a comment, if you've been through some shit in your life, whatever that shit may be, financial, business, life, kids, you know, whatever that may be. I just believe that we all, at some point, as I've gone through these hard times. So I guess my shit started, as we'll call it today, when I was 8 years old. I came from a very solid background, but my parents decided to separate, and it's not boo-hoo, you know, all feel sorry for me. Well, we've all been through separations. Some of you might have separated from loved ones, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife. Some of you maybe not seen your kids for a while. A lot of us at times, if went already, are going to lose as parents and people close to us. And we all deal with separation differently. The way that I dealt with it growing up was I used to comfort eat. So I'd eat and eat and eat, which meant I got real big real quick, which meant when I got to school, I had a bit of an hard time. And what I realised is when I was in this bit of a hard time is that I could handle the physical stuff very well, easy. I was rugby, you know, I'm a rugby player, ex-rugby player. Physicality wise, I was always all right. It was more the mental stuff that used to get me. And I guess this is the first question I've got for anyone today who's happy to share this. But we're all good at letting people get in here at times, whether it be clients, stresses of society, as partners. We're all good at letting people get in here. But who's the worst person that most of us let get in here? And you can drop a comment to that one if you want. Who's most people's worst enemy at times? Ourselves, 100%. We are all our own worst enemy at times, which is really sad, right? Because I imagine if I said to everyone now, and I'll fly through this because I know I ain't got loads of time, is who wants to be successful? You don't need to answer this. Everyone would say yes, right? We all want to be successful. And I know being in successful rugby teams and other successful organisations, in order to be successful, we have to be critical, right? We have to be critical because you need to know how you can get better. But the sad thing is what a lot of us are is our own biggest encourager as well. So yeah, be critical, improve, be a better dad, be a better partner, be better at your career, grow your business, look at ways you can improve. But what a lot of us don't do a lot of the time is just sit and say to ourselves, what is good in my life right now? What have I done? Because I imagine if everyone to look back on the last 5 years, last 10 years, whenever that may be, and take a moment and think, do you know what? Shit, I've been through some stuff. And look at me, I'm here today, I'm on this call, I'm smiling, I'm healthy, I've got a roof over my head. And I don't think as a society we do this enough. And what I think we do is we ask shit questions. And when we ask shit questions, we get shit answers. Your mind's really good at finding everything that's bad in your life, everything that's wrong with you. It'll give you a lot of evidence to back up why you're so bad. And my simple equation is, I like to simplify stuff, I'm a Yorkshireman, is if you ask shit questions, you'll get shit answers, and that's going to make you feel shit. So then what I start to realise, if you ask better questions, hopefully that'll lead to better answers, which will hopefully make us feel better, but that's not always the case. And I'll never forget, my dad won custody of me and my brother, which is unheard of really, isn't it? Nowadays, never mind 20 years ago. My dad won custody. My mum would come to get me. I was a bit of a mummy's boy. Mum's come to school to get me, and then she's driving to school to get me for this first time. A car pulls out, hits my mum's car, flips the car, crushes her leg, leaves her with some brain damage. And that's where my mental illness journey began. And I'm going to fly through this because there's a big difference between mental health and mental illness. My mum has a very rare condition called NEAD, non-epileptic attack disorders, which basically means she'll drop, she'll fall, she'll knock her teeth out, break her jaw, cheekbone, you name it, she's done it. So I moved from a house she lived in to a little disabled bungalow because every time she fell down the stairs, there's a good chance she could die. Then I took the bath out of her house because every time she fell in the bath, there's a good chance she could drown. Then I took the carpets up because every time she fell on the carpets, it used to rip the skin off her arms and face, and it wasn't nice to see. As a result of her illness, her mental health suffered. Conditions that we all know today are well publicised: anxiety, stress, depression, suicide. My mum was privy to all these on an extreme. She didn't leave her house for 4 years because of her anxiety. Not once did she leave her house. So she became what we call in prisons that are working, a self-isolator. She didn't dare leave her house at all. And that was really hard because your mum is your carer, right? She's the nurturer. And that role sort of got reversed, and that was real difficult. And I guess when I was going through all this, my mask that I was wearing, because I can't speak for the ladies, although I do know that a lot of you will wear them as well, is what us blokes are often really good at is wearing a mask. We're good at just putting a front on, pretending everything's okay. And I would go to school doing the same for a couple of reasons, really. One, I didn't want anyone at school to know what was going on, because I didn't want them to have any ammo on me. And then the other one is I didn't want to go to my parents, who were obviously, mum going through this trauma, dad's bringing kids up on his own, and I didn't want to give them any inkling that I was struggling at school. So I'd put that mask on. And we're often all guilty of that, aren't we? We'll go to work, we're running a business, you know, whatever industry you're in, we're putting that mask on. We don't want anyone at work to know when it's getting a little bit tough at home. If work pressure's getting a little bit hard, we don't want to go home and put that burden on as loved ones. And that's often what men do. And I know that role's reversing. A lot of females are also doing that. And that can become a bit of a burden to carry for us, guys. And I know for me, went home one day, that mask probably dropping. Unbeknown to my dad, what he did was he found my first escape, which was rugby. And the reason why, and he didn't mean to do that from a mental perspective, it was just, he wanted to get me fit. His passion with rugby. So he gets me into rugby. Rugby's my place where I can go and express myself. And I think what's really important when we all get busy with life is to still have things where we can still escape. Whether that be golf, whether that be going sitting in a sauna like I like, we're going for a coffee with your mates or a beer, whatever it is, male or female. I think when we all left home, it's a bit of a tangent this, when we all left home many moons ago, right? We all left home at some point, unless there were a more deeper reason. But most people leave home because they want freedom, right? You probably remember that time when you went to your mum or dad, your parent, and says, right, I'm going on my own 2 feet now. And what comes with freedom? Bills. And somewhere along the line, we all get a little bit boring, don't we? We stop doing the things that we enjoy in life. We stop putting stuff in weekly. And I think what we all need to do is at times take a chance or an opportunity to stop and reflect. But also within that, go do something that you enjoy. Because for me, rugby were a place where I could express myself. I could run into people run into me. And actually, the one thing that I were a bit of a burden at school with, this overweight, helped me in my rugby career. So if we're just fast forwarding this on a quick note, because I know we ain't got loads of time with you today, is I wanted that to be my career. So I went on at 15-year-old to sign for a team in Manchester called the Salford City Reds. At 17 years old, I made my first team debut. Scored on Sky TV, dream come true. After the game, I get offered a 2-year deal, but I also go out and celebrate with all my rugby team. And all my rugby team were doing what my old 15 to 17-year-old mates are doing on street corner. They're taking drugs, they're drinking, talking about getting on steroids because it's been promoted to Super League. And I thought, culture, this isn't what I want as a young athlete. So some people thought it was stupid at the time. I turned the deal down. I said, this isn't for me. And an old coach who'd coached me at Yorkshire, a guy called John Bastian, heard about what I'd done, and he bought me for the Leeds Rhinos. So suddenly you talk about identity as a man. Now my identity now a Luke Campbell Leeds Rhinos player. Everywhere in Halifax I go, that's Luke Campbell Leeds Rhinos player. I've got kids asking for autographs. My name's all over Sky Sports. I play a load of games for Leeds on Sky. My profile grows even more. Again, Luke Campbell Leeds Rhinos. I go on loan for a year. I go down to London. I play a full year there, and I come back and they brought a new manager in. And I guess we've all had that at some point, right? Someone where his face just don't fit for whatever reason that may be. And the short version of this is that when I went back to Leeds, face didn't fit. Maybe I wasn't good enough. I got let go. And my whole identity now became in crisis. And the only thing I knew how to do emotional intelligence-wise was to resort back to what I'd always done. And for some people on this call, that might be spending money, it might be gambling, it might be drinking, it might be shutting people off. For me, it will put my mask on, pretend everything's okay, and weirdly, comfort eat. So suddenly I ballooned in size again. I can't get in team in league below. I hit that self-destruct button that we all hit because I didn't want any of my mates to know, I didn't want my partner to know. So the one thing we should do when we're struggling, and this is for anyone today, is when you're struggling, whether it's financially, business-wise, whether it be personally, you should pull people in, right? As a bit of a life raft to help you get through that and have a moment of a breath so you can just catch your breath until you make your next decision. But what a lot of us do is we push everyone away and we start to drown. It's like an actual selfless act, we believe, because we don't want to burden them. We don't want to be embarrassed. We don't want to show weakness. So we push all them people away like I did. Broke up my partner. Suddenly the only way I know what to do then is go back around with all my old mates, get drunk, sleep around, because that's what we chase when we're struggling in it. We chase pleasures. We chase things that are going to make us feel validated. And I did that. And then anyway, one night I went out and I drank too much and got in an altercation with some doorman and found myself sat in a police cell asking myself one question. Why me, why me, why me? And I believe a lot of us get to that point, don't we, when we hit a bit of a down period in his life, that we ask, why is this happening to me? And as I was sat there, I said to myself, Luke, if you're going to keep asking shit questions, you're going to keep getting shit answers. If you want better answers, you need to start asking better questions. So I came up with a question, what's next? And all what's next meant is I'm going to now take responsibility for anything that happens to me. I'm not going to blame my rugby career. I'm not going to blame my mum, what's happened to her, and a variety of other stuff that's happened that we had a chance to talk about today. But I ain't going to continually now put that on them. It comes a point where I've got to take responsibility for what I'm doing to myself. So what's next meant, what are you going to do about it? So I realised that when Luke Campbell's at his best mentally, he's at his best physically. So I rented a little room above a truck yard. I turned it into a bit of a gym and I went in there, trained. And I found that when I was training, I wanted to eat better. When I ate better, I wanted to drink better. When I was drinking better, I had more energy to do things with people that I cared about. And when I did those 4 things, I slept better. And if you actually tracked it back now to the 5 things that we all need, both physically and mental health, is we need to move on a day-to-day basis. You know, we don't need to go do stupid things like Ironman that I'm doing on this weekend. That's just silly, right? But we need to move. We need to get up and move, don't we? And we live in a world now where we're spending a lot more time in meetings online. We sat down, but we need to get up and move. But when we do move, we naturally want to eat better, don't we? And when we're eating better, we're drinking more water and more fluid. We're spending more time with people we care about, which is so important. And then we're sleeping better. And chemically, all these things have a compounding effect, don't they? Because when you spend more time with people you care about, it releases a chemical or an hormone called oxytocin, which is the love hormone, which helps us sleep. Most people, I imagine, well, I won't ask you this now, but if I ask you who struggles with sleep on this call, probably 80% of people in every room I go in always say that they struggle with sleep, right? But actually, track it back. Food has a big indicator on his sleep. His hydration levels have a big indicator on his sleep. Movement has a big indicator on his sleep. And sleep is the #1 tool that we all need to recover, right? And replenish. So if I'm giving a little call to action today, is there's two things straight away. One is we need to start asking better questions of yourself and encourage yourself a little bit more and say, you know what, I'm doing all right. What's next? The next one is that these 5 simple, boring little things we need to really invest in a little bit more and be more conscious of, am I drinking enough water and being hydrated? Am I moving enough? And it's not about going out and running marathons every day. Just get up and go for a walk with your dog. Go have a little walk, take stairs instead of taking elevator. These simple little stuff. Focus on getting a good night's sleep. Lower that screen time a little bit, etc., etc. And listen, I'm not naive. I know all of you is very successful people. You've got businesses, you've got careers, you've got families, and you want to be pushing in that grind culture. But eventually you'll burn out, won't you? And what no one on this call wants, I imagine, is to be that point where that stress and that burden just becomes too much, where either you've got to crash and burn or at the extreme, you know, end up in a bit of a bad mental situation. So that whole theory worked for me. What's next theory, my rugby career started to pick back up. My life were on a uphill trajectory and everything were going well until April 2016. And I'll give you a little bit on this, and sorry if it triggers anyone, I'm going to talk about suicide. But in April 2016, there were me, my partner, and my brother-in-law all around at my house having a good laugh and joke. And Andrew started telling me what to buy a house, which was mad because Andrew had been in a bit of bother growing up, but he'd really sorted his life out. I said, come up on Wednesday when the kids are here and we'll go through it. We'll go look at some houses. He said, perfect. Next morning he gets up, goes watches our football team play football. They're a man down, so they managed to convince him to get his boots on. Ends up playing, has a good game. After the game, he goes back to my mother-in-law's house and we all have Sunday dinner together like we usually would. And me and him are having banter like lads do. He gets up next morning, goes to work as normal, or so it appeared. That night, he didn't come home. Tuesday morning, I'm going to a rugby camp with my little boy, Alfie, who's 6-year-old at the time. He's like out with his Uncle Andrew. When my phone rings and it's my mother-in-law, and I were busy, so I thought I'll ring her back. Then it rang straight away again, and I had a feeling something's not right here. So I answered the phone, and she was just screaming down the phone, our Andrew's dead. I said, what? She said, our Andrew's dead. I said, I'm on my way, Elaine. I dropped Alfie off at the rugby ground because I had no idea what I was going to, and I shot up to my mother-in-law's house. I'm from a really big Irish family, and I lost a lot of people who were close to growing up. But nothing could have compared or prepared me for what we're about to go in. Walked in the house, she could have cut the atmosphere with a knife. And I said, what's happened? And she couldn't tell me. She couldn't say it. I said, what's happened? I said, is it a car crash? Is his dad asleep? She said, look, he's killed himself. I said, whoa, he can't kill himself, Elaine. He was at my house yesterday. I'm seeing him tomorrow. She said, look, he's killed himself in Woods across the road. And it was like someone just sucker punched me. And in that moment, I felt how bad I felt. Mind my language here, but I thought, how the fuck does she feel as a mum having to tell me about her baby boy? This is bullshit. She shouldn't have to tell people this. So I said, my what's next moment is I need to step up and help out the best I can here, because she shouldn't be able to tell people all day that her little boy's no longer here. So I took that job on, and I had to go, my partner or next person through the door, I have to sit down and explain to her that her little brother took his life and watch her crumble in front of me. Then it were his aunties, his uncles, his friends, his cousins, his old mates, everyone just in bits. Go get his car from where I'd left it. But the single hardest thing I've ever done to this day in my life, and touch wood, I don't ever have to do it like this anytime soon, was when I pulled up at my mum's house, who had my little boy Alfie, who were that close with his Uncle Andy. And I remember my partner just saying, look, I'll tell Alfie. I said, okay. We get to the back garden. He's playing on swings, laughing and joking. He can instantly tell something's not right. And as I always tell my partner, panic creates panic, doesn't it? So he now starts panicking. She's panicking. You can just feel the atmosphere building. He's asking what's wrong because he's never seen his mum like that or me. And eventually she just says, look, just tell him. I said, Alfie, Uncle Andy's died. He's gone to heaven. the screech in which he let out as a 6-year-old boy, it'll live with me forever. Because as a parent, you have 2 jobs, don't you? You provide, you protect, and I could protect my family. And as a man, that was the biggest failure I felt like I'd ever had. I couldn't take that burden from my family, and they're just all in pieces. So driving down to my mother-in-law's house, that old familiar question popped back up. Why me? Why us? Why us? Why me? Why? And I said, do you know what? Everything you talk about, Luke, and everything that you stand for is bullshit. Being a positive person, being good energy, asking better questions, doing those 5 things so you've got more energy. You know, all this stuff, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. Because that can't bring Andy back, that can't bring Andy back, that can't bring Andy back, that can't bring Andy back. And like a smacking face, the 5th time it just went, you can't bring Andy back. And then that other question came, weirdly, conversation with someone, said, what are you going to do about it? So some of you will widely know the bigger picture now of what I'm going to talk about. Some of you might not know the in-depth for that, but 4 days later, I had this idea. And it came about because all the stats I was looking at was that of all the guys that took their life or went to take their life, they didn't talk about how they felt. And I thought, what if we could create a space where men could just chat? And if I could do that as a professional rugby player in a masculine position, maybe the guys would feel comfortable to do the same. Everyone thought it was a crazy idea. First night, turned up, 9 men turned up, couldn't believe it, one of the most powerful nights of my life. And these guys were all different guys than what I expected. They were an operations director of a multinational company, they were a doorman, they were another rugby player. We just all opened up. One of the most powerful nights of my life. One of the most powerful nights of my life. And the week after, I said, well, we've got to do this again. So that week, 15 men turned up. And then I was sat on my toilet. It's irrelevant I'm sat on the toilet, but all best ideas come on toilet. And I thought, imagine if we could raise awareness of this on a bigger scale. So I took a selfie with an OK sign. My partner said, that's silly. People are doing press-up challenges and ice bucket challenges. No one's going to take a selfie with an OK sign. It's not going to catch on. Within 4 weeks, 100 million people did it. I'll never take her advice again. And I've been very fortunate to do some crazy stuff that a kid from a very underprivileged background, single parent, shouldn't have been able to do. And I'm not going to just tell you these things to brag. I'm going to do it for the opposite. So just some of the things that I've been very fortunate to do, and I'm going to tell you these for a reason, but I'll give you the reason at the end. So I've been to Prince Charles's house. You now call him King Charles, or we call him King Charles. And I sat in his front room with him and drank champagne, which were mad. Then I got invited to his mum's house, the Queen, and ate cucumber sandwiches in the back garden. And I fucking hate cucumber. It's the only food I don't like. I've been an advisor to the health minister until the recent change of government, got an honorary degree, done a talk to Man City in front of 55,000 people. The list goes on of all the cool shit. Been on Rich Damon's podcast. The list goes on, none of which I care about. And I don't mean that to sound overly humble or that I'm arrogant in that I don't care about it. But I never started it for those big things, right? The intention for me and the big things for me are when a dad comes up to me in my kids' school playground and says, I want a minute to drop my daughter off if it wasn't for your group. These big things for me are like when I'm out running Great North Run on Sunday, when I don't believe many other charity chairs would be out running with their people. We had 500 runners doing it, and I'm running around with people and saying, why are you doing it for Andy's Man Club? Because I lost my son, and it's his 40th birthday today. Because I lost my brother, I lost my dad, I lost my... And then on the flip side, because it saved my life. Because this charity, I owe it my life. Because this charity saved my husband's life, my son's life. They're the big things for me. Because that's why, and that's the intention for me, why I set this organisation up. And the organisation, where's it at now? It's no longer 15 men in a room. It's now got 6,200 men a week using that group from as far north as just under Inverness. I always say Aberdeen, but it's just a bit north of Aberdeen now, right down as far as south as Plymouth. And we have over 320 groups, and that will continue to grow. But why is this relevant to all you? Because there's a couple of things I've learned from Andy's Man Club. As a leader, I started it when I was 26-year-old, very young to start that. I've learned a lot of business lessons. It's a charity, but you still learn a lot of business lessons, managing people. I've learned a lot of life lessons. And the biggest life lesson I want to give everyone today is that one thing I want to leave you on, because I know we're all meant to have 20 minutes here and I could go on and on and on. But the biggest thing I want to leave you all is that we are all going to die, right? And I know this might sound really dark to leave you on, right? But we're all going to die and we don't think about it enough. Being surrounded by suicide, it's always about death. And I'm a big lover of life, big appreciator of life, which is why it's very ironic that I run a suicide prevention charity, right? But I just think that when we die, whether you're going to get cremated, whatever, there'll be a little plaque somewhere or there'll be some recognition somewhere of your life. And that all that will represent your life is a nice sentence that your family say about you, and a tiny little line between the day you're born and the day you die, called a dash. And there's some great poems out there about the dash, and implore you to go read them. But what that dash represents to me is not the life that I live, but how I made other people feel. Because the people who stand at your gravestone that day will remember how you made them feel, what type of person you was. So then it got me thinking on a deeper level. If you get a moment of reflection before you die, if you're lucky enough to get a moment of reflection, you sat there on your deathbed, will you sit there and think, did you have a better car than your neighbour? Did you go on more holidays than X, Y, Z? Did you make more money than the next business, etc.? Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't want to strive to have a better standard of living. And you shouldn't want to go travel the world and do the rest of it. I've got my whole family in the next hotel room. We're out here in Nice. I think it's very important to do stuff. But I think who you are, and I always think of someone in my life who are really important to me, my little Irish nana. And in societal terms, she wasn't very successful, right? She wore a chocolate packer. In fact, when I look back now, it's made me laugh. I never thought that. She wore a 5 foot nothing. She was like an Oompa Loompa, really, in Charlie's Chocolate Factory. I've never even thought of her like that, right? But what she was is she had 16 grandkids who all looked at her as a queen. Now, I imagine if we all get to the end of our days and all our grandkids can look and say, my granddad were a king or my grandma were a queen, they're that apple of our eye, we'd all take that as a unbelievable level of success, right? But what made her successful in that sense? She was selfless, caring, compassionate, kind, empathetic. Now, they're all skills that learned, not born with, right? So every one of us in this call today can be more kind, more caring, more empathetic. But do you know the backwards thing about it? It doesn't start externally, it starts internally. Because you can't truly be empathetic or care about others if you don't care about yourself. You can't truly want to help others if you don't want to help yourself. You can't truly be kind to others if you're not kind to yourself. And that goes right back to the beginning, doesn't it? Where we need to ask better questions of ourselves to get better answers and hopefully feel better. Because when the day comes when we're in the ground, I hope that you can look back and think, you know what, I gave it everything. I gave it my all. And that all don't mean that it were about chasing things. Sometimes it's about what I've been trying to get across a lot today is about just pausing, stopping at times and reflecting on how far you've come, whether it be in your personal journey, your business life journey. I think it's really important because what's next is great for negative. It's also good for positives. What's next? So what's next for me and why am I on this call in south of France? A friend of mine approached me in Costa in Halifax this year and said, I want to do all 5 UK Ironman. And I said, amazing. Good for you. And I'd my Ironman days I felt were over. I've done a few, but I'd done one a couple of years ago. And at the end I thought, that's me done. He went, but I want to do it for Andy's Man Club. And I just says, fuck. And he says, what? I went, well, that means I've got to done it. He went, yeah, it does, doesn't it? He goes, my best mate thing. So I like shit. So I said to him, the only thing is it can't be just 2 lads doing Ironman because that's not going to resonate with general population because Ironman is out there. So I had to go and do the rest of the events as well that Andy's Man Club had planned, from marathon in Southampton, which we did in Darren's footsteps, one of our members of staff that we lost to an heart attack. We dedicated that to him. The Yorkshire Free Peaks, done another 2 half marathons. And then this month is a crazy month. So I'm glad I've still been able to come on. Sunday did the Great North Run. This Sunday I've got Ironman World Champs here in Nice. Week after I've got Ironman Wales. 3 days later I fly to Italy to cycle across Italy from Florence to Rome. I then fly home, go to my brother's stag do in Budapest, and I fly straight to Glasgow to do the Great Scotland Run. In between all that, I've still got to work, and personally, because I'm a voluntary CEO of Andy's Man Club, which I'm really proud to always tell people because it means I don't get paid. There's no one creaming off the top, as people often say in charities. It's just me doing it still for the great intention. And I've still got to feed my family, so I have a business I've got to run. I'm fitting stuff like this as well, which is amazing. And today is probably the busiest day I could have done this. We've got ambassador events and all sorts of stuff. But the reason why I'm telling you that is because I often feel energized purely because of the intention of why we do what we do. If you find something that's bigger than yourself, things always find a way of working themselves out. So when I'm on that 2-hour climb that people keep telling me about today, and everyone out here is Ironman mad, like, hey man, have you, all American by the way, hey man, have you done a course recce? Like, how the fuck, lad? I'm from Yorkshire. I've got hills in Yorkshire, man. Don't worry about that. So and then they laugh at that. You're really not doing a course swim or a run? I'm like, too busy for that, mate. We're just going to get the job done. But the serious side is I just think, and there's a lesson to this why I'm telling you, is Someone asked me my mentality when I'm in the middle of something hard, and I always think about 24 hours from now. That's a question I always ask myself. I don't want you to think about that. Whether you're going for a big argument with your partner, you're going to think, what am I going to be doing 24 hours from now? And often it's not sat in the pain that you're in. So when I'm on that bike, climbing up there, I'm in a world of pain. I'll be thinking 24 hours from now, and I'll tell you where it came from. Years ago, we did a challenge for a good friend of mine called Rob Burrows. God bless his soul. Me, Keith Senior, Barry McDermott, we decided to do 2 laps of the Yorkshire Free Peaks consecutively, one after the other, as a set of 6. For anyone who knows rugby league, you'll know that you do a set of 6 tackles. And if a friend makes a mistake or your friend does something, you do a set of 6. So we did a set of 6 for Rob. And I remember getting on the second lap and it got horrible. It was middle at night. We'd been walking. We were all sat to hallucinate. We had no sleep. And I just thought to myself, do you know what? 24 hours from now, I won't feel like this, but Rob will. And I think sometimes it's about taking that moment to question yourself is when you're in the eye of the storm and you know that the storm will pass, but you don't believe it will, is what will I be doing 24 hours from now? And I know come Sunday, when I'm in the eye of the storm on that challenge, I'll be thinking, what will I be doing 24 hours from now? And it won't be in the middle of that storm. It'll probably be having some good food with my family or people I care about. And then I'll be doing it a week after again. So I'm going to try not to think about what we'll be doing 7 days from now, but we'll keep it what we'll be doing 24 hours from now. So hopefully, in a very brief version we've got here, use our talk for a lot longer than this, an hour, and give you a lot more context, a lot more stories. Hopefully it's been beneficial getting to know a little bit about me, getting to know a little bit about Andy's Man Club, and some of the stuff that make me tick. I am on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, Luke Ambler UK. Do connect. Happy to take any questions if you want. I'm not sure what usually happens at this point, but guys, genuinely thank you all for listening.
Wow. I don't know what to say, Luke. You're off the charts, and there's no way we could contain you within 20 minutes. So we've kind of done you a bit of a disservice there, if I'm honest. I thought there was, yeah, wow. Just a wow. Let me put it out there. Does anyone have any questions for Luke? He does have a very busy morning. He's off to some other PR gigs straight away. So if you do want to ask a question, jump in now.
Not a question. I just think, Luke, if you've got time, we'd love to have you back. Fantastic listening to you. I'm not a big one on swearing, but you do a damn good job at swearing and making it really appropriate. And I think I speak for everybody here. You're forgiven, and it's been absolutely fantastic to have you on. Brilliant. And two fellow Ironmen here. Michael's an Ironman. There's probably others. I've done a few. Have a brilliant race on Sunday. And as you know, once you get off the bike, there's only a marathon to run.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's did you say you've done one?
I'm up to 9.
Wow.
Michael's honing in on 10.
Which ones have you guys
13,
done?
Michael. Martin.
Oh, sorry.
But yeah. Listen, you're gonna love the marathon. Nice was my first one, and the marathon along the Promenade des Anglais is just awesome. But you've got great mental strength. There's no question you're going to get yourself across the line. Also, can I just mention, Luke, that if there's a link to sponsor any of your craziness, or if there's a link to help keep propping up Andy's Man Club, if you could drop it in the chat, and we'll get Toby to circulate it, because we'd love to support you in your mission. Okay.
Genuinely, really appreciate that. So I've never raised money for Andy's Man Club. It's a bit of a backward way to run a charity. Always awareness first. Always like to mission first. But I'll definitely get the team to send some over, because if there's a thing. But yeah, we weirdly didn't do any sort of sponsorship on this, even though we probably should have. And you'll know how hard an Ironman is, and you'll know how hard it is going to be doing 2 in 7 days. It's going to be off the charts, especially when it's Nice and Wales. I don't know if you've done Wales.
Yeah.
Which you'll know well. You'll better give me advice. I've heard that the 2 toughest on circuit, aren't they?
Yes, a wise man once said, just keep telling yourself what we're going to be doing 24 hours from now.
I love that.
Yeah, but listen, I mean, more than that, Luke, is you're on a quest, right? And it's an audacious, bold quest. You've met the Queen, you've met the King, you're doing all that stuff. But you're just on a quest. And what we love to support is people with lots of energy and people who are looking to rewrite the script. So whatever you do, please keep in touch with us. We'd love to have you back. And I'm sure the other speakers won't mind us going over, because I think your message is massive and it kind of transcends what we do anyway. So once again, from the team, from the members, just like to thank you for giving up your precious time this morning. I know you've got a lot on. Yeah, you're a standout guy, and just go smash it, okay?
Thank you so much, guys. Genuinely really appreciate it.
Amazing,
Have a great
Luke.
rest of the day. Legends, guys. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Luke. Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, now nicely into our next speaker, which will be a bit of a decompression for us after that. No pressure, but we've got Jamie from Odyssey Pensions. Jamie, we obviously had Luke there talking about the love drug, oxytocin. I think, you know, if when you show up here to speak about Odyssey Pensions and SIPPs and SASs and how you guys are changing the world, if you could just inject a bit of oxytocin there to help us decompress, that would be great. Jamie is the MD of Odyssey Pensions. What they try and do is just make it clear and accessible in this kind of overcomplicated world. So again, they've got a great story on the pensions front. Fun fact about Jamie is that his first job, when he was offered to come into the financial services, it was offered a 3-course meal once a day. And he says, yeah, that was when the mutuals were around. No wonder they demutualized. So he's acutely aware of fees and time. Jamie from Odyssey, over to you.
Thanks very much. I am completely, I have no idea how to follow that first presentation. I've got to be honest. We're about to embark on a conversation about pension schemes, which is about as far away from what we've just heard as possible. So I'll apologize. It's very dry, it's very boring. It's not going to be anything like what Luke's talked about, but we'll make it as interesting as possible. So technologically speaking, we're going to try and share the screen. Let's see what we can do. Right. So hopefully everyone can see the slideshow. Oh, sorry. So very quickly, who we are. So conscious of time, I'm going to make this as quick and as painless as possible. Just talking a bit about Odyssey. To be honest with you, following Luke, it would be lovely to talk about our story, because probably that would tie in a lot nicer with what Luke's been talking about. You know, we set up the business 8 years ago, a couple of us, and that was on the background of working for big companies. So that journey was great. Probably not what we'll talk about here. But so we're a small operator based in South Wales, and we principally work with financial advisors, property professionals. What we do is self-invested pensions. So the idea today is to give people, it's very difficult to come up with an idea of what we can do that will be interesting for everyone, because everyone will have different experience, different expertise. Some people will be experts in this, some people will be coming at it for the first time. So we're trying to do a bit of a catch-all. Hopefully we'll hit a few interesting points for people. As always, we'll be around. You know, if there's any questions afterwards, please fire them at us. But I'll just rattle on until I stop. So bear with me. So SIPPs and SASs, we've got 3 different types. SIPPs, group SIPPs and SASs, those are familiar with this kind of environment. SIPPs designed for one person, realistically, although it's possible to form syndicates. Principally, what we do is allow people to use their pensions for slightly more dramatic purposes than just investing into the stock market. So what we do is a lot of commercial property investment, investing with businesses. So you've got a great tie-in with what people are trying to do commercially with their businesses, and they use these kinds of pensions to sort of tie in with that strategy. You've got SIPPs, individual arrangements. You've got group SIPPs, standalone arrangements, but written under a personal pension style. And you've got SASs, slightly less known occupational schemes designed for small groups of people, small groups of directors, family members, things like that. Very, very quickly, they are registered pension schemes. They do all the same sorts of things. So there's no rocket science here. There's no myth and magic. They do everything that normal, in inverted commas, pension schemes do. Tax relief and contributions. You can transfer other pensions in. No income tax, no capital gains tax. Broad range of investments, broad range of retirement options. and death benefits largely tax-free, of course, until they change the rules in April 2027. Bit more detail there in terms of comparing SIPPs, group SIPPs, SASs. We'll make the presentation available as something that everyone can access afterwards. But that's just to sort of reinforce the fact that when you look at these different types of self-invested pension arrangements, broadly speaking, they all do the same thing. So you're looking at 3 different options, and the nuances are really where the planning comes in. But broadly speaking, all these types of schemes do the same thing. Where are they different? Well, if we look simplistically at SIPP versus SAS, SIPP, one person arrangement, as I mentioned. SAS, you get groups of up to 11. Why only up to 11? Nobody actually knows. Whoever invented or designed the legislation decided that 12 people or more was a large arrangement, 11 people or less was a small arrangement. No one still understands why that necessarily is the case. SIPP's regulated by FCA, SAS is not regulated by FCA, but pensions regulator is taking a more active role in looking at SASs. SIPP personal pension, SAS occupational pension. SIPP individual fund, by which I mean that the individual effectively owns all of the money in that pension. SAS is pooled. That means that everybody has a share of everything that's going on. Slightly more complicated way of running things. One key standout feature, SIPPs, you can't lend to any connected parties, so pension schemes can lend money. A SAS is allowed, has permission, if you like, to lend money from the pension scheme, so the trustees can lend money to a member's company for the purposes of business development. That's one of the areas we see a lot of activity with, specifically with SASs. That just gives you an idea of the range of different types of investment that each pension scheme can use. So you've got bank accounts, collective investments, equities, all the normal sort of regulated side investments that you'd expect to see in pensions. Then you start deviating into something a little bit more complex, commercial property, gold, and then you've got the riskier elements that some providers will allow, so other providers will take a view, but you've got things like third-party lending, unlisted shares, so actually buying shares in private equity, non-regulated investments, very risky area of pension planning, but possible within SIPPs and SASs. You see a lot of activity on the non-regulated side in SASs in particular. A brief little pictogram really on how a property purchase would work within a pension scheme. So step 1, get your money into, in this instance, we're using the SAS as an example. So money comes into a SAS, pension transfer, absolutely straightforward. Set up your SAS, move your pension monies in, falls into a bank account. Second step, you find your property. You may already know your property. It could be the property that you're already working out of. It could be an investment property. It could be a property you're looking to move into. You're effectively using your money in your pension scheme to buy that property. How's it done? Normal way, no rocket science. You're using solicitors. They do the normal process. They do report and title, etc., etc. You use the money, you buy the property. It then stays in the pension scheme. So it's the actual asset of the pension scheme. You get that property tenanted. It could be your own company. It could be a third party. That tenant is paying rent into the bank account that's in the pension scheme. And over time, that cash will accumulate. You use that money to diversify into other assets. So in effect, your pension scheme is holding a commercial property, bricks and mortar, could be the place that you're actually sitting, doing your work day to day. And then it diversifies into a range of other assets. Could be more property, could be things like stock market, regulated funds, etc., etc. So just a simple idea there on how property works in a pension. You can also borrow money from a bank. So similar scenario, monies go in, pension contributions, pension transfers, you fund your pension scheme. Step 2, you then buy your property. But you're also approaching a lender to say, right, give me some money, help me out with this purchase. I haven't quite got enough. What will you lend me to complete the purchase? And then not to oversimplify it, but it is relatively straightforward. You've got your tenant in situ, they're paying rent into the bank account, you're using those monies to pay down the mortgage. So in effect, it gives the ability for the pension scheme to just increase that purchasing power in relation to property. Sponsoring employer loans. So this is the other area where you see a lot of activity with these kinds of pension schemes. Again, your starting point is no different. You're setting up your pension scheme, you're moving your monies in. You've got a fighting fund of an amount of money. In this instance, we've got 250,000. The SAS can lend 50% of the value of the pension scheme to the sponsoring company. So your company sets up a SAS, you've got pension monies, put it into a SAS, you can borrow back, lend from the pension scheme half of that money. There's obviously rules that come with it. 5-year term, got to have capital and interest repayments over those 5 years. You need first charge security, but it is effectively dealing with yourself in terms of finding finance to expand business and things like that. So as I mentioned, purchasing commercial property, that's what we mostly do here at Odyssey. So about 1,000 clients, probably 90% will hold some form of commercial property investment, whether it's outright, whether it's part ownership, etc., etc. But the process is relatively straightforward. You're using, typically, client are using all or most of the fund to purchase a building. It's normally, in our experience, their existing office or factory, anything like that that they operate from. And it follows normal expectations. There's no special set of pension rules that we have to follow. It's literally, what would you do as a normal commercial transaction? Well, you get a valuation report, you'd instruct your solicitors, you then pay for the property. Nice, simple, easy steps. The rent accrues and you diversify, as I mentioned before. One SIPP doesn't have enough money, so we can syndicate SIPPs. This is where you get a series of SIPPs, 2, 3, 4 commonly, joined together to purchase property. That allows a greater purchasing power for acquiring property. So you tend to see either family or business partners putting these things together, and each SIPP then has a proportion ownership of the property based on what they've invested. So if I put in 25% of the amount to buy the property, that's what I will own. That's the amount of rent I will share. Those are the costs I will bear. And again, you can throw borrowing into that process to increase the purchase amount. So you could have a group of individuals collectively put all their monies into pensions, borrow from the bank, and go and buy a larger property. Some of the lesser sort of areas that are used, but things that we get involved in, purchasing part of a property. So it's not an all or nothing. You can buy shares of a property. So if you've got an instance where you own a property in the company, you want to release cash into the company, you've got a pension scheme, property's worth 400, you've got 100 in your pension scheme. We see people using the 100 to acquire a share of the property. Absolutely fine, joint ownership. And then as rent accrues, you then over time buy more and more and more of a property. So it can become a little bit more complicated than just an outright, I've got to have all of the money available. Different types of properties. So you can go anywhere from land, forestry, agricultural land. The range of things that we get involved in is quite substantial. And cut into the bottom line there, really what you're looking for, anything not suitable for use as a dwelling. That's HMRC's, the revenue's definition of residential property. So working backwards from that, anything that you can't use as a dwelling, you can potentially get into a pension scheme. So you can get involved in some quite weird properties from time to time, but lots of things are available. So with SAS's typical transactions, you see group of individuals collectively forming a SAS. In this instance, they're pooled rather than separate. Pros and cons we'll have a little look at in a second, but that's one thing to bear in mind. And you have a SAS, occupational scheme, 1 to 11 members. Typically, we'll see 3 or 4 members, family members, directors, forming a SAS. Monies are all pooled into the one pension scheme, and then same process goes off. They go off, buy a property. And the other area really you see with SASs is the sponsoring employer loan. So 50% the value. So you've got people looking to finance their business. They don't particularly want to go down the road of speaking to banks, building societies, whatever. They go to the pension scheme. It's not to say that it doesn't come without some restrictions, requirements, but you're typically dealing with yourself plus trustees in terms of shaping that loan, so it can be an easier process. Plus, of course, you're paying back into your pension scheme. Typical scenarios: loan secured against property. That's nice and straightforward. So when you're looking for security, bricks and mortar always trumps everything else. But that property doesn't have to be commercial; it could be residential. It doesn't actually have to even be owned by the company. So somebody else's property can be used. Family members' property can be used to assist in that corporate process. Lesser known or lesser used or more extreme version, shall we say, usually comes in the form of types of securities. So you don't necessarily have to look at commercial property or residential property for security. You can start being a little bit more adventurous. You can go for fixed assets, all asset debenture on a company. If it owns assets, then that's something you can fix a charge on. Tangible property, we've had examples in the past of people securing a loan to their company against a collection of very expensive wristwatches. Interesting discussions about where they're stored, how you insure, things like that. Overseas property we've done, where we've secured against property in France to facilitate loans in the UK. Securing against other company shares. So I got two companies. That other company's got value. Can I use that as security to lend to the first company? Yes, you can. Intellectual property. So you can get quite adventurous in terms of the security. That's not to say it's just carte blanche, do what you like. It's a rigid, complicated process, but there are other areas you can explore with these kinds of schemes. Third-party loans, you see SASs in getting involved in more speculative investing where businesses know businesses. One business wants to or can finance another business because of the interaction they have. Third-party loan, less restrictive, so you don't have the same sort of security requirements, you don't have the same sort of terms, so you can be more adventurous again with it, but comes with higher risk. This slide, a little bit small writing, probably one to read when you get 5 minutes, but it's looking at the pros and cons between SIPP and SAS. I'll run through them very quickly, conscious of time. So with SIPPs, say you've got 2 or 3 people, you're fixing the amount of property, of ownership of property. That positive can give quite a lot of clarity. So if I own 25%, I know I own 25% of a property. SAS is a pooled, which means it's much more fluid. I don't specifically in a SAS own 25% of an asset. I own a share of the entire pension scheme. So it becomes a little bit less specific for people with SASs, a little bit more vague, so possibly a little bit more difficult to understand. Decision making. So with my SIPP, if I have a SIPP, my decisions are my own. With SASs, you've all got to get together and unanimously agree all transactions. So when it comes to a single transaction property, great, you can all usually agree. When it comes to broader investing, then it can become more complicated. Less administration on a SIPP, more administration on a SAS. Why? SASs are subject to wider law, trust law regulation, more so than a SIPP. Negatives in terms of the SIPP. Costs tend to be higher. If you've got 2 or 3, 4 SIPPs, you're going to be running 2, 3, 4 pension schemes as opposed to one scheme. So you do have a slight cost differential. Less fluidity.
Jamie, excuse me, if I could jump in, sir. Thanks so much for this. I'm just conscious of time and we're going to be having people slipping away. You mentioned from the off there that your line was, we do something slightly more dramatic. Just over the next minute or so, can you tell us what some real case scenarios, some of these dramatic cases that you've been able to solve with your solution?
So I suppose dramatic is more looking at, so previous slide, where you look at the plain vanilla versions of something like sponsoring employer loan. That's probably the easiest one, where the plain vanilla is, you want a loan from your pension scheme, right, you need to secure against commercial property. You don't have commercial property, right, that's it, you can't do a loan. That's not what the regulations say. They just talk about security on assets. So the ability to look broadly as to what constitutes an asset, how to secure a charge, can allow someone to do something with their pension scheme that will solve a problem for them in their business in terms of development. So what we've done, 2 examples, the French property is an easier one, but what you're dealing there is overseas law. It's not UK law, it's not recognition of a trust, it's trying to mimic what a trust does in a European environment. So for those familiar or those not familiar, trusts are particular to certain countries. The UK, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand will recognize trusts. When you get into Europe, there's no real recognition of trusts and how they work. So when you've got a pension scheme written under trust, it's very difficult to get European legislators to understand what you're trying to do, what the protections are. So tying that into a UK process is complex. The ability to do it so you can think about it, you've got to think about translations, you've got to think about employing solicitors in different countries. Having the ability to do that, something a bit different, that's what we do. Another idea was the dual company. So I've got a company, it needs money, I've got a separate company. How do you secure against the value of a company when that other company doesn't have assets? Well, that company in and of itself might have value. It's got trading potential, it's got turnover, etc. How do you secure against that? Complicated process, personal mortgage against shares that you own personally, making sure that that company is not reliant on company A for its trade, etc., etc. So it's thinking more broadly, rather than just sticking to a single sheet of tick box, tick, 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 this is what we've got to do. It's actually standing back. What we do is say, where does legislation start? That's really how we would do things differently. What are you trying to achieve? Why are you trying to achieve it? How do we get you there? Those are the questions we would ask, as opposed to tell me what your security is, tell me what you're trying to, the amount you're trying to work, and we'll work it out based on those tick boxes. That's kind of gives you a flavor. I am conscious of time. Last slide, I was just going to go through something very quickly. Dual or crypto, non-regulated investments, something that we do get from time to time. I'll skip that. Happily share the presentation. If anyone does have any questions, we don't charge on our time. We are more than happy to share, develop, talk to people. We're very enthusiastic about SIPP and SAS. Happy to have conversations with people to develop understanding. It's all great for the industry. I'll leave it there, conscious of time.
Paul, thanks for that. I'm just going to dive in there because Michael is probably not aware. If you could share that slide deck with us, that'd be really good, because we can put that out to everybody, because I appreciate you've had to charge through this. Our next speaker has very kindly agreed not to speak today, and we'll speak at a later meeting, because I'm very conscious of people's time, and I always want to finish at the top of the hour, if not before. Just so thank you very much, Paul, and the team at Odyssey. Very difficult to follow Luke Ambler, so I don't envy you for having to do that. For everybody else on the call, thanks for staying on for the duration. Just a couple of housekeeping things with the annual PFS conference coming up in November, December time. So there'll be a load of MDRT people there. So if you're going, that'll be fantastic. We may have a stand there, I'm not exactly sure. As it is 3 minutes to 9, I like to finish early, I like to start early. I just want to wish everybody a great day, and to Sarah, I hope you have a good night's sleep if she's still on the call, because it's all over. But thanks for everybody for showing up again today, and I'll see you all again soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Martin.
Thanks,
See ya.
guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.